Something I've not done on the channel before. We are going to be checking out a live performance of Kanye West's song Power. Now, a few things right off the bat. First of all, yes, I have covered Power before, but that was just the audio version. That was the album version of the song, and I really liked it. It's one of my most viewed videos, and I thought I'd like to actually also start delving into looking at these artists' live performances because I absolutely love live performances. I've seen probably upwards of like 100 plus shows at this point, and like 99% of those are metal shows, so I don't have much of a frame of reference for what it looks like at hip-hop shows, and I thought that could be kind of cool to look into. That's first order of business. Secondly, yes, this is a new space. I have moved. Hopefully everything sounds somewhat nice and sounds like it used to. I'm not 100% sure because it's a little bit of a different setup, but crossing fingers, so please give some feedback on that. And thirdly, but not least, I guess, this is not an album reaction. The album reactions are coming. I have one up, it's ready. I'm just sorting out some copyright stuff. You might have seen a community post or maybe my last video, and you would have seen me talk about that as well. So with all that said and out of the way, and without further ado, this is Kanye West Power live at Coachella in 1080p HD. And I'm very excited because I've never seen a hip-hop show live before. So let's see how this goes. Here we have the man himself, and we're already clapping. Now I wonder if this is from the track or from like the audience clapping. Okay. I don't think this is I don't think this is like I don't think this is in the original song. I haven't heard it in a very long time, but like we have this like bass that's moving down and synths that almost sounds like some Europe stuff moving with it, and then we have this very like rapid like arpeggio. It almost sounds like someone's tapping on a guitar, but it doesn't. It doesn't have enough jump for it to be that, but it sounds somewhat similar. Oh, that's a heavy bass. I mean, that's quite the walk-in, isn't it? It almost looks like a wrestler walking, or like a UFC walking. Oh, and there's actually live instruments. Hell yeah. So before we get started, one of the like, I don't want to say most important things, but definitely a really important element of going to live shows is how like the artist is able to like encapsulate the stage, right? Like how well are they able to like fill out space on the stage while simultaneously maybe not taking over 100% of it, because there's more than one artist on the stage, right? There's at least 3 so far as we can see. But obviously Kanye is the reason we're here. That's a huge part of it, but a really big part of that I think is also just like a question of whether or not you lose the audience, and I think honestly that can be answered very quickly based on the introduction you give. So I'll give you an example. I saw 2 bands last year at Coachella, which is like Denmark's like biggest metal festival, right? I saw more than 2 bands, but I saw 2 bands that did this in 2 different ways, and one was horrible, one was great. The first is a band called 3 Days Grace, and 3 Days Grace is like this very teenagey, for lack of a better word, metal band that does, their songs are fine, they're sonically good, but they aren't the most interesting. It's not the most interesting music in the world, right? And the singer goes on stage and he starts shouting like, "Say our name, say our name," and just starts trying to get the audience like amped up, and it doesn't really work. And I think the reason it doesn't work is because A, he clearly doesn't know where he is, and B, he's just kind of begging the audience to cheer him on, which doesn't really work that well. Later that day, a small, tiny band called Angus Mac6 comes on, and they do the same thing. They ask us to chant their name, Angus, but they weave it into a song, and the Angus, it becomes rhythmical, and it becomes part of the performance. And I think that's a really big difference between like how to captivate an audience. And I'd be interested to see how Kanye does this here, and if he does it. But I'd assume as much, because he seems... Oh, we have dancers as well? Because he very much seems to be like... I'd assume he is a good performer, just based on what I've seen and heard. Alright. Creating a little bit of tension. What does this mean? He's very much like demanding the attention of the audience here, dragging it out. And I'm hoping we're just gonna drop straight into the song, the intro. Yeah! Okay. He almost looks like a fucking director thing. Oh, a little bit of lag.
I'm living in that 21st century, doing something mean to it, do it better than anybody you ever seen. Do it, scream from the hate.
Oh.
Got a nice ring to it. I guess every superhero needs theme music. No one man to have all that power. The black
I love that you can actually hear it is his voice. Like, and you can obviously hear it in many ways, but one of the things for me that keeps clear is the pang, or it's the pop. You might not be able to hear it because I have like a pop filter on, right? But the pop of the actual rapping, it's cool. Like there. And all the instruments seem to be live, with the exception of the clapping and stuff. Okay. Yeah, and the dancers are clapping as well. So, one thing so far that's, I don't want to say disappointing, but that's a little surprising to me is how, for lack of a better word, like weak the beat sounds. Because one of my favorite things about Kanye's music is his instrumentation and his general musicality. And don't get me wrong, like instrumentally it's all great, it's as it used to be. But, and that might just be a question of the recording, but you can't really, or I can't at the very least, hear all the instruments that well, which in many, and you might want to blame that on just that being live, but I've seen many concerts where you're able to hear it just fine. And that might not be on Kanye, it might be an audio engineering thing, it might just be a recording thing. But it's definitely a thing that like sticking out to me currently is that his voice is front and center. It might also just be an artistic choice, especially with a song like Power, that is so like person-centered, if that makes sense. But he's definitely, like, if you're just looking the way, like, he's moving around on the stage, he's definitely, like, getting, like, into the music. Like, there. He's dropping down on, oh, that power. That's, like, cool, I guess. Alright. We're running around. What's he doing? Alright, before he starts again, I really, I guess it's something that you can kind of get away with this style of rapping, where the important thing isn't necessarily just from what I've seen, right? It doesn't seem to be the rhythm or whether or not he's on key. It's just the power that's behind it. So you're able to do something like this. Like, fuck that, the world's ours. He's almost, like, it sounds almost a little flaccid, for lack of a better word. But it works. It works with his particular style of music. Almost in the same way that, like, Alice Cooper, if you're aware of him and his music. Alice Cooper's voice doesn't sound all that great, but with his music specifically, it's fantastic. I feel like Kanye has a similar thing going for him here, also because his style is so, like, chanty and like preachy, but not in a bad way, if that makes sense. And then for the intermission, like the instrumental, like intermission thing here, he's like decentering himself in a way. I wonder what the logic behind that is. Yeah, it's cool. I like how loudly you can pick up the guitar as well. Yeah. I feel like the vibe in the venue is pretty damn sick. I'd love to see just some shots of the audience as well. Obviously, I want to see Kanye primarily because he's the artist that I'm like looking at, right? But I would like to see just how the vibe is spreading, because that doesn't always get translated super well in these types of like performances. But also just as a risk that there's a risk in watching live performances, you know. That is a cool thing. For lack of a better word, that's a cool effect here. Because in the album version, I'm fairly certain there is no delay here. But that's like a way to like differentiate it, I guess. Here. I know he uses delay later in the song between like So Excited and Suicide, but I love how like into this he is. Oh, here we go. All right, so this is where it starts really transcending into a fantastic song. Got a mixture of the piano and the swells here. It must be exhausting to be rapping like this on stage. And you're dampening the lights to give vibes. People seem excited, that much for sure. And he's doing a thing here that anyone who's been on stage probably recognizes. Let's see if I can actually get it on the actual frame. Come on. Come on. Here. So he's doing a thing here where like he's looking above the audience. And that's just like a general good trick if you are a little scared of going like public in any way, like if it's public speaking or performancing and stuff. It's that it's not the whole like the issue a lot of people, including myself, face when we try and do this is that it's scary to look into a single person's eyes. But if you're looking at everyone's foreheads and you're just looking above them, it gives you less reason to be scared because you're not locking eyes with someone who might look bored, like they're bored or frustrated. But also it can just give off this powerful like stance, right? Like just look at him, the way that he just casts his gaze upon the audience there, soaking it all in. That's sick. I think this is also the opener to the concert. It looks like. Ooh, I don't remember that descending line here. I love the tone on the guitar. It's very rusty. Yeah, it's cool. I will say, I'll just pause here. I will say I don't really know what the dancers are adding. Like, it might just be the video that's not capturing it very well, obviously, but I don't see what exactly they're adding to this performance currently, or if they're maybe even detracting a little bit from it, just because it's like, at least several times when I've seen them, they haven't seemed to be doing all that much, except like following the movements a little bit of Kanye. It was cool when like he dropped to the floor before going into another section. In that way, I think it worked well, but otherwise it just feels a little I don't know. It feels like it's to me. It feels like it's detracting a little bit from the performance, just because like it makes it more difficult, I guess, to just pay attention to Kanye, which is at the end of the day what we're trying to do. Like I feel like this would be better without the dancers, like this part, for instance. Has some good energy. Okay, but I guess for these parts, it works with all the dancing, and especially when he's dancing with them, essentially. Oh, fuck yeah. All right. And you can hear everyone screaming, Kanye, Kanye, Kanye. Yeah, that was cool. It's always fun for me to like see live performances, especially of a genre that I'm less familiar with, because I've never been to a hip hop show. I don't know what the customs are. I don't know how really you like act in them. Neither as audience member or performer, because I haven't seen them. But at metal shows, you know, I've done my fair share of mosh pitting and crowd surfing and walls of deathing and like fucking rope hitting. It's a new thing I've tried. It's cool. It's fun. I enjoyed this a lot. I don't feel like it's fair to rate it because it's like I don't have anything to rate this against, essentially. So like maybe if I do more of these live performance like videos, it would be fun to like try and rate them afterwards. But currently I don't really have anything to weigh this against, so it'd feel unfair to rate it in any way, shape, or form. But I definitely like the rendition of Power that we've seen here, which is this a bit more raw thing. Because one thing about Power and the album that I both really like, but that also definitely you could criticize it for, is that it's so incredibly like borderline overproduced. Like everything sounds so incredibly crisp, which is impressive technically, right? But it feels easier to get like into the music, for me at least, when there's a little bit more of a raw element to it. And I think he really achieves that here by doing many things. But one of the primary things he does, as I've mentioned several times throughout the video, is the whole just yelling, almost like going off pitch and just getting into the music. It's really, really cool. He's like, in Danish, we have this phrase that I've accidentally almost said a few times during this video that says like "at leve sig ind i det," and "at leve sig ind i det" means to like really, really get into it. But the rough translation is like to live into the thing. Right, so he puts his whole life, his whole ass into it, and it's cool. I love to see when artists actually do that and actually like take their music so seriously that they allow themselves to be overtaken by it. That's like my favorite like experience that I've ever had at live concerts, has been when it feels like the musician is not performing the art, but it's more like a conduit through which the art flows, if that makes sense. So yeah, this was really, really cool. I enjoyed this a lot. Please let me know if you'd like me to cover more live music. I'd love to do that. And yeah, I hope you have a really good day. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment if you wanna. Like the video if you wanna. And yeah, then I guess there's nothing left to say except that I hope that you have a very nice day. Bye-bye.